Okay, so this is probably the weirdest sensory autism issue that I have. And what has it got to do with tomato ketchup? All that's coming up. Don't go anywhere. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aspie world. I have a interesting, albeit slightly unusual trait of sensory processing disorder that comes with autism that I think you'll relate to because I feel like my mother and my partner both experience this as well. So I think that this is always good to talk about. So if this is you, you have to let me know in a comment down below because I read every single one, but it also helps the community, right? It helps us all understand each other properly. Okay, so what is it? Now, I want to talk about the fact that autism comes alongside, or a diagnosis of autism comes typically alongside a diagnosis of something called SPD, or sensory processing disorder. Now, sensory processing disorder can have two connotational sides. One is that you'll have sensory seeking, and the other is that you'll have sensory avoidance. And what this means is, okay, so sensory seeking could be like enjoying like fidget toys and that kind of thing, and really liking the textures and all that kind of jazz. And then sensory avoidance is maybe you don't like those textures. It could be like suede or leather or this like crushed velvet style. Like you maybe don't want those, and you kind of also really avoid those at all costs. And it's not just touch for sensitivities. It could be sound, smells, lighting, heat temperatures, type of clothing. It could be absolutely anything. And this is funny because you can have both together, because a lot of people would say like, okay, well, if an autistic person doesn't like this, but they do like this, then it's simple, right? Like you would be like, hey, you like, I don't know, you like LED lights of different colors, like the ones that you have like a gaming PCs, and then you'd be like, cool. But then maybe the person doesn't like tungsten yellow lights, the type of lights you have in a living room. Now, if you put that person who likes LED lights, flashing colorful ones, in a room that's pitch black but with just the LED lights, they'll probably love it. Put them in a room with normal like lamps and room lighting and put the LEDs on, they'd probably really dislike it. So this is called situational sensory processing disorder, and a person can have a mixture of all of this going on. This sounds so complex, but it's very interesting. Now, I'm going to give you an example of when I was a kid about sensory processing disorder that's situational, okay? Specifically about food. Now, you mums are watching this right now are going to relate so much, and so the adults who are on the spectrum, not just the parents of the kids on the spectrum. Now, one example of this, before I give you my personal example, and that's a true story, my personal example, is that when a autistic person has situational-based sensory processing disorder, it can be like this. Your kid, or you, if you're on the spectrum, can go to a restaurant and eat pepperoni pizza, and then you can love the pizza, it's awesome. Then you go home and you make your own pepperoni pizza at home, or your mum makes you pepperoni pizza at home, or you make pepperoni pizza for your autistic kid at home because you know you liked it in the restaurant, and then they despise it. They're like, oh no, I hate pepperoni pizza. And you're like, well, what the heck is going on? A minute ago, you just destroyed one yesterday. And this is because it's situational based to where they had it. And let me give you an example of this, a real life example, and this is from me. So when I was a kid, I used to love going to the kitchen in school and having, when we had food in the food hall in school, in kindergarten, primary schools we call it in the UK, and I used to love going there and having custard, and they'd have custard and it was great. Now, this is really interesting for my parents because when I was at that age in my life, at home, I was a fussy eater, or I don't like felt a fussy eater, but I was more of a selective eater because of my sensory processing disorder. And by the way, guys, my name is Dan, and I have autism and ADHD. So if you want to learn more about those things and help me out, then just remember to hit the subscribe button down below by clicking on the notification bell. It helps you know when I've got new videos uploaded to help you, but also helps me out because I want to grow this channel. I want to have a big community here that I can help more people. So if you do that, it would be amazing. Thank you. Now, at home, I had such limited food options because of my sensory processing issues that the only thing I'd eat was like roasted vegetables with like chicken or turkey with gravy, right? So much so that my mum meal prepped like dozens of these and then froze them. So I'd have that meal every single day. Now, not only that, it was quite interesting because were able to transition to more foods using a method that we kind of used as trial and error when me and my mum were doing this. Now, if you're interested in learning more about that, give this video a thumbs up, and it'll be a good indicator for me to know that you want to see a video on how to transition from picky eating or fussy eating, so selective eating, sensory processing, to more broader palate. And I can do a video all about that and how we did it from our perspective. Now, so my mum learning that I ate custard in school, she was like, "Dang, maybe custard at home." Didn't like it. So she said, "Okay." So then she was like, "I'm going to get the exact recipe from the school and see what they say." And then she got the recipe from school, and I didn't like it at home. So then she went to school and said, "Hey, if I buy some of the custards off you and heat it up at home, I want to test this." And I still didn't like it. So my poor mother was trying everything and pulling her hair out at the time. And then it clicked. It was situational based. I only liked the custard in that environment. So those things go together. The experience of eating that thing and the experience of being in that place, they go together. Now, my actual son has the same thing. He's not diagnosed with anything right now, but he does have this same issue. And if you're experiencing this thing, drop it in a comment down below. I'd love to kind of read all those comments, but also have community input for other people going through different things, because maybe we'll understand each other a little bit more if we share more about each other. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, that'd be awesome. Now, this situational based food issue was really interesting because I feel like it has always followed me my entire life. So I know what you're saying. Dan, what on earth has any of this got to do with tomato ketchup and anything tomato based? So tomato, I don't care how you say it, it's still the same thing. Now, this is Heinz ketchup. Now, I love Heinz ketchup, but I also despise it. And what I mean by this is I like pizza with tomato bases, I like tomato soup, and I like tomato ketchup. But there's conditions for this. It has to be warm. And what I mean by this is very simple. I love tomato soup, but as it starts to get cold and it gets colder and colder, I can't eat it and I get a sensory processing issue from it, which is hence why I actually avoid eating tomato soup that often, because I get scared that it's going to cool before I have a chance to eat it unless I heat up the bowl first, which I possibly could do. I'm thinking about it right now. Maybe I'll try that. But needless to say, when that gets colder, I instantly go from liking it to despising it. Now, the same, I couldn't eat cold pizza for a very long time and actually still don't eat a lot of cold pizzas. There's only certain types of pizzas I can eat cold because the tomato base sometimes was thick and it would be cold. So if there's a thick, cold tomato base, like the puree or the sauce, it's too sensory overwhelming for me. But I do like hot pizza, right? So if the base of the pizza is like got lots of tomato sauce on it, then I have to heat it up. But if it's only like a small kind of thin layer, then it's okay because you can't really notice it because it mixes in with the cheese and it's okay. Now, ketchup though. My partner, bless her soul, she's amazing. She's autistic and ADHD as well. She is a typical person. She keeps ketchup in the fridge with all her other condiments, right? Even though she's autistic and ADHD, she still has the urge to keep all condiments in the fridge. Now, I don't do this. And I don't do this because I want this ketchup to be warm or at a higher temperature. So if I'm in her house having hot dogs, because she lives in Canada, she's a Canadian citizen, she lives in Canada, but I also, I live in Wales, but we do visit each other. Obviously, we're in a relationship and we are spending some of the time in Canada, some of the time in the UK. And because of that, when I'm in her house, I have to I put the ketchup on the bun first, and then I put the hot dogs in the bun, veggie hot dogs, I'm a vegetarian, but I wait for it to heat up first, because if it isn't heated up, I can't have it, which is really interesting. But she always keeps her sauce in the fridge. Now, when she comes here to my house, and say if she comes with the kids, she'll put the sauce in the fridge, and I'm like, because my sauce to me doesn't live in the fridge. I mean, I get it in her house, I understand it. But what's really interesting is that when we're having, like, say we're having veggie nuggets, she will have like a pot of sauce that we can dip the nuggets in. But the interesting thing is, if I do that, and the sauce is being, straight out of the fridge, straight into the thing, and the nuggets are ready, and we're dipping in, it kind of gives me a bit of a sensory aversion, which is why I don't like a lot of salsa with chips. Like you get like the tortilla chips and you dip them in salsa, like Doritos or whatever. I like the taste of salsa dip, but it has to be warm, as weird as that sounds. So in her house, there's a secondary to this. And this is where she also has an issue. So I have this funny joke with her where she's like, I love maple syrup because she's a Canadian. She's originally from Brazil, but she's Canadian. She's an amazing woman, by the way. And she's a great cook. So she'll make pancakes and she'll have maple syrup. And I'm like, dude, you like maple syrup. You're eating maple syrup right now. She's like, yeah, no, but it's like, it's this one make of maple syrup, which is the one I like. All other maple syrup is not her jam. And I'm like, what the heck? So she only likes like condition-based maple syrup. There's one make of maple syrup. She says that maple is too mapley. So if we go to like Tim Hortons, which is anybody watching knows anything about Canada, Tim Hortons is like the gospel of Canadian culture. Everyone goes there for coffee, donuts, and we like about 2 weeks ago we went there and we had a maple donut from Tim Hortons, and the maple donut was really nice, but she said it was too mapley. Now she keeps her maple sauce or maple syrup in the fridge. So when I'm there and she makes pancakes, and by the way, she makes the most amazing pancakes. Honestly, she's just incredible. But if she makes the pancakes and like leaves a stack for a little bit and then puts the cold maple syrup on, it jars me a little bit. I'm like, whoa, because I expected it to be warm. Now, I only like maple syrup when it's warm. Now, McDonald's does really, really well. Like when they're making the pancakes, they also heat up the syrup on the little, the little prep counter where it's like warm-ish. They keep the syrup warm, which is great because I love that and I can have that. But in terms of in the fridge, it's a no-go from me, and I never keep maple syrup in the fridge. And it's funny because my mum also has something very similar. Now, I did a video and I was talking about something else to do with autism. I'll leave a link here somewhere. And it's basically outlining kind of, your issues or your autism traits that kind of get passed down from your parents. And in the video, I explain that, like, if your mum has some traits and dad has some traits, they may not be, officially diagnosed with autism because they don't have the triad of impairment, which is kind of like the main diagnostic criteria for autism, but they have some traits. And then it comes together and they have a baby, and you're the baby, and you have all of those traits. And that is how those genetics pass on, and you kind of become more autistic because the difference in neurological behavior is a long story. Anyway, my mom has some autistic traits. And one of the most interesting things, and this is fascinating, she has conditional-based sensory processing with milk. Now, she drinks tea because she's British, born in England. She's a British person, so big up to my British fam. She has tea with milk in it, and obviously the milk is warm because it's in the tea. Now, if my mom has cereal, she'll always opt in for typically like oatmeal or porridge because it's warm, right? Now, one of the most interesting things is she doesn't like milkshake because the milk is cold in a milkshake, and she can never drink just a glass of milk because it's cold, because she doesn't like milk when it's cold, which is funny because milk by default is cold, right? And the other thing is that when she's going to have cereal, she will eat cereal, but she will microwave the milk to heat it up to have microwave cereal. So she doesn't have cereal that often, which is really interesting. Kind of like me and my tomato soup. I don't have tomato soup that often because I'm scared of it cooling down before I get a chance to eat it because it's going to be, outrageously cold. Ew. So that is probably, I think, the strangest experience I have. And it's all down to tomato ketchup. And I realized this when I was in my partner's house when I was having hot dogs with ketchup and then we were having nuggets with ketchup. I was like, holy smokes, there's a different experience going on here. It is probably the weirdest thing, and it all relates to tomato ketchup. And this is why I did this video. I do a lot of teaching to help autistic individuals, autistic adults, and parents. Now, one of the things that I have noticed about autistic individuals is that we lack confidence. And it's probably one of the main things that impacts our life. And if you can cure the confidence, if you can increase confidence, then you win at life, right? And autistic individuals need to know these three things. One is that confidence isn't person-based, as in anybody can become confident. Yes, you have the ability to become confident, and you can learn it very, very quickly. I actually teach this on a 7-day program, but I'm actually giving the first module away completely for free. So you can get started. You can start building confidence right now with the Building a Bulletproof Brain for Autistic Adults, completely free. All you have to do is go to www.bulletproofbrain.org right now. I'll leave a link in the card and in the description down below, where you can just go there, download this, and take it. It's completely free. But I can assure you that when you build confidence, when you start to build confidence in an autistic adult, you will start winning on multiple levels. If you found this video interesting or useful, please share it with somebody or tag them in it if you think it's going to be useful for them. All right, guys, I gotta go. Peace.